did it by walking past Glenn Hoddle. That's where the ball came from Hodge. Maradona had continued the run forward.
What if I told you that one moment of pure genius and a dash of controversy forever changed the face of football? Diego Maradona's hand of God wasn't just a goal, it was a cultural earthquake. But was it brilliance or outright cheating? To understand why this moment still divides fans decades later, we need to go back to 1986, to a quarterfinal match that defined not just a tournament, but an era. Football is often called the beautiful game, but beauty isn't always perfect. Sometimes it's messy, sometimes it's controversial, and sometimes it's downright outrageous. On June 22, 1986, in Mexico City, Diego Maradona gave us one of football's most unforgettable moments. But it wasn't just the goal itself, it was the why, the how, and the impact that made it a global sensation. The story of the hand of God is about more than just a handball. It's a story of politics, genius, rivalry, and the thin line between legend and scandal. Let's dive in. The historical context. To truly understand the magnitude of Maradona's actions, you have to understand the backdrop. This was more than just a World Cup game. It was a clash of nations fueled by history, politics, and cultural pride. In 1982, just 4 years before the 1986 World Cup, Argentina and England fought the Falklands War, a bitter conflict over a small group of islands in the South Atlantic. Though the war lasted only 10 weeks, it left deep scars on both nations. For Argentina, the loss was especially painful. The war had resulted in the deaths of nearly 650 Argentine soldiers, and the nation's defeat added to the struggles of a population already enduring economic hardship and political instability under a military dictatorship. The wounds were fresh, and resentment toward England was palpable. For many Argentinians, football became a way to heal. It was no longer just a game. It was a battle on a global stage where national pride was at stake. The quarterfinal clash between Argentina and England at the 1986 World Cup carried the weight of this history. A win against England would not erase the pain of the Falklands War, but it would feel like a symbolic victory, a chance to reclaim a sense of pride and dignity. And then there was Diego Maradona. By 1986, he wasn't just a player, he was an icon. At just 5'5", he didn't possess the physical dominance of many football stars, but his extraordinary skill, agility, and creativity made him untouchable on the field. Maradona's vision and control with the ball seemed almost supernatural. He was adored in Argentina, not just for his talent, but for what he represented, a working-class hero who had risen from poverty in Villa Fiorito, one of Buenos Aires' most impoverished neighborhoods, to become the hope of a nation. Maradona approached the 1986 World Cup with a singular purpose: to prove he wasn't just great, he was the greatest. This was his moment to shine on the world's biggest stage, to carry his team and his country on his small but powerful shoulders. The pressure was immense, but Maradona thrived under it. For him, this wasn't just a game, it was destiny. And for Argentina, this wasn't just about football, it was about redemption. The quarterfinal match. On a scorching afternoon in Mexico City, 114,000 fans packed the Estadio Azteca to watch Argentina take on England. The stakes were enormous. The winner would advance to the semifinals of the World Cup. The match started with intensity. Both teams were physical, scrappy, and unwilling to give an inch. But despite the early efforts, the first half ended goalless. Then came the second half, the 51st minute, a moment that would live in infamy. Argentina's Jorge Valdano attempted a pass, but England's Steve Hodge accidentally deflected it into the air toward his own goal. The ball spiraled high, with England's goalkeeper Peter Shilton charging out to claim it. But there was Maradona, leaping into the air. Time seemed to freeze. As the ball came down, Maradona punched it with his left hand into the net. It was quick, almost imperceptible to the referee and linesman. The crowd erupted, unsure if what they had just witnessed was legal. England's players were furious, surrounding the referee, screaming that it was a handball. But the goal stood. Maradona celebrated as if nothing was amiss, running toward his teammates with a cheeky grin. Later, he famously said the goal was scored a little with the head of Maradona and a little with the hand of God. The genius of Maradona. Just 4 minutes after the infamous Hand of God goal, Diego Maradona reminded the world why he wasn't just a footballer, he was an artist on the pitch. In one breathtaking sequence, he cemented his place among the greatest of all time. It began deep in his own half. with Maradona collecting the ball and turning toward England's defense. What followed was a masterpiece. He danced through 5 English players, Peter Beardsley, Steve Hodge, Peter Reid, Terry Butcher, and Terry Fenwick, as if they weren't seasoned professionals but training cones. Each defender lunged, scrambled, and flailed in vain, unable to stop the diminutive maestro. With each touch, Maradona displayed an almost telepathic connection with the ball. It was as if it were glued to his feet. As Maradona approached the box, England's goalkeeper, Peter Shilton, rushed forward in a last-ditch effort to stop him. But Maradona, with the calm precision of a surgeon, sidestepped Shilton and slotted the ball into the net. The stadium erupted and the world watched in awe. This was footballing genius in its purest form. The goal, later dubbed the goal of the century, wasn't just a display of skill, it was a statement. It showcased Maradona's speed, agility, vision, and creativity, all packed into 10 seconds of magic. It was a moment that transcended sport, a moment that made even casual observers sit up and take notice. But the timing of the goal added an extra layer of intrigue. Coming just minutes after the controversial hand of God, it created a fascinating paradox. In the span of 4 minutes, Maradona went from a cunning rule bender to an undisputed legend. The same man who had scored a goal with his hand now produced one that no human hand could replicate. And here's the question: would the goal of the century have resonated as deeply without the controversy of the hand of God? Some argue the scandal amplified the genius, creating a narrative of redemption within the same game. Others believe the goal stands alone as a timeless example of Maradona's unparalleled talent. Regardless of perspective, one thing is certain: those 4 minutes encapsulated the essence of Maradona, flawed, brilliant, and unforgettable. He wasn't just playing football, he was redefining it. The fallout and legacy. After the match, which Argentina won 2-1, Maradona's actions became the stuff of legend and controversy. In Argentina, he was hailed as a national hero, a figure of pride and resilience. The streets of Buenos Aires were filled with joyous celebrations, with fans chanting his name and waving the blue and white Argentine flag. To them, Maradona was more than a footballer. He was a savior who had delivered a symbolic victory against England, a nation they had clashed with in the Falklands War just 4 years earlier. In England, however, the response was the complete opposite. The British media and fans labeled him a cheat, a player who had insulted the integrity of the game with his underhanded tactics. Headlines in England's newspapers were brutal, portraying Maradona as a villain and a rule breaker. Yet, for all the outrage, the match became a defining moment in football history, one that no fan could ignore, regardless of their allegiance. The significance of the hand of God went far beyond that day in Mexico. It sparked a global conversation about the ethics of football and the blurred line between genius and gamesmanship. Fans and pundits debated endlessly. Did Maradona's actions tarnish his legacy, or did they add to his mystique? On one hand, he blatantly broke the rules and got away with it. On the other, he demonstrated unparalleled ingenuity and quick thinking in a high-pressure moment. Was this the mark of a flawed genius, or simply a man who would do anything to win? For England, the match was a bitter pill to swallow. Losing to Argentina in such controversial circumstances felt like a double defeat, a blow to both their sporting pride and their lingering wounds from the Falklands War. Yet for Argentina, it was poetic justice. The victory, however controversial, became a source of national pride. The hand of God remains one of football's most polarizing moments. Decades later, fans still argue about its meaning. Was it a disgrace to the sport or a testament to the drama that makes football so compelling? Perhaps it was both, a moment that forever cemented Diego Maradona as a complex, larger-than-life figure whose brilliance and flaws were inseparable parts of his legend. The push for technology. The controversy surrounding the hand of God also highlighted the need for better officiating in football. For years, incidents like this were part of the game. Human errors by referees were seen as unavoidable. But as technology advanced, calls for change grew louder. Decades later, moments like Maradona's goal would lead to the introduction of video assistant referee, VAR, and goal line technology. Today, such an incident would almost certainly be disallowed. In a way, Maradona's hand of God indirectly shaped the future of football. It forced the sport to confront its imperfections and embrace technology to preserve fairness. Maradona's complex legacy. Maradona himself remained unapologetic about the goal. He knew it was controversial, but he saw it as a necessary act. He once said, "It was like stealing the wallet of an Englishman." His career was filled with highs and lows, brilliance on the pitch and chaos off it. But moments like the hand of God ensured that his name would live forever in football lore. To this day, fans argue about whether Maradona was a hero or a villain in that moment. But maybe that's the beauty of it. He wasn't one or the other, he was both. Diego Maradona's hand of God wasn't just a goal, it was a statement, a symbol, and a spark for change. It reminded us that football, like life, isn't always fair, but it's always captivating. So what do you think? Was Maradona's goal an act of genius or was it outright cheating? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching.